Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for coming tonight. Is the first thing. I know you're here because, like me, you know that the industry is in trouble, just like our fishing industry. I'm also a farmer. I'm an aquaculturist and a fisherman, and I'm a businessman. I left school, finished school, and I started my own business, and my young lads now are working in it on the sea, working in aquaculture and farming. In 2016, I contacted the Irish South and West after seeing an advertisement, and I was disappointed that in the advertisement, the likes of fishermen wouldn't get the job because they had massive amount of letters after the name to say that there's no need to apply. Anyway, I did apply. They took notes of what I'd said, and I'm there with the last 8 years. I've been in Brussels. I work in advisory councils. We are solution-based. The problem we had in Brussels was we weren't listened to. Just as you know, this is why you're here tonight, is because you weren't listened to, because the industry is in decline and the people that you expected to help you out and work for you in Europe didn't do so. It's as simple as that. So Green Deal, farm to fork, and taxonomy is another one that you mightn't be aware of, which actually forces you financially. I'm one of yourselves. I'm an ordinary, hard-working man. Please vote for me on June the 7th. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
We're going to have to hit the ground running. We're going to have to hit the ground running, guys. And everybody is talking here. We've got to have a collaborative plan. We have got to unite, and we have got to use all.
Sorry, Pat, no, at the time. Over to you in terms of the last.
The ratification of would have the potential to do huge damage to Ireland as a large exporter of beef. If you were elected, if you were an MEP and you were voting on ratification of the Mercosur deal, what way would you vote?
Well, first of all, they have to meet the same standards that is required, a level playing pitch that's in Ireland. They cannot be allowed to produce food cheaper and bring tariff-free food, which is happening right across the European Union in the meetings that I'm attending with DG Trade, and nothing's being said about it. Our MEPs are not saying it, they're not challenging it. We're not protecting our jobs in Europe by allowing cheap food to be brought in from these countries with far inferior quality and products. And I was at a meeting with Grace O'Sullivan where she had people on saying about the pesticides and everything that was inside in the food. First time I ever heard of it. So unless you're going to create a level playing pitch that you too can compete on a level playing pitch, you're not going to survive. It's as simple as that. I keep saying it. I'm a food producer since I was 18 years of age, and the price I'm getting for my product has barely gone up. And I'll do a draft here. And this is what I drew for the people in Europe, for commissioners and MEPs. You have the production unit, the person at the bottom, the top is the price, and in between is all the regulations and everything that you have. The one thing that changes the regulation and what more you're expected of, but what isn't changing is the price you're getting for your food. And unless you challenge that model, the model won't allow you to compete, and you will not have young people coming into your industry. It won't be viable for them.
Dairy farmers for any greening of the environment.
Cynthia, you probably know, like in court, we don't interrupt each other. We're trying to fight
Absolutely, that's my solution. Separate budget and scrutinise the red tape and legislation. I will not vote for it with the lady with red tape.
So first of all, you have to understand farming. Farming is the same as us. When I started producing my food, the cost of producing the food was on the floor in comparison to what it is now. And the price of food has stayed stagnant. So you're getting less in returns because your cost is gone through the roof. And none of that is being addressed here. So that's the first thing, you have to understand it. So unless you understand food production and you're in the business, it's very hard to go over to Europe. Because in Europe, I didn't interrupt you, Cynthia, please don't interrupt me now. When you're in Europe and your experience of Europe, making these promises as if everybody's going to listen to you, how many delegates and how many are out there? They have to be put through a budget, and you have to get not just your own MEPs to agree with you, but all the MEPs to agree with you inside. So making promises like this is ridiculous. You don't know anything about the way Europe operates to make these promises. You can't go in there and make changes on your own. You'll have to work with other people. You asked me why you're in the situation. It's very simple. The CAP was designed, as Michael said, for food production after the World War. There wasn't enough food production, so they subsidised it. But what they've done now is they're asking you to take that money into a totally different sphere, which is environmental. I know this because I'm asked for it in our businesses. We had to get organic status just to get access to the market, and it cost us a fortune. We have to even have our boots washed and recorded when you come on board the boats. I know the regulations because the fishing industry is one of the over-regulated industries on the planet. This is where you have to go. You have to find a level playing field. You're asking for some solutions. Here's the solutions. Carbon credits. This government this year is paying... No, this is happening now. There's 121 million euros paid for carbon credits. When you're asked to reduce, when you're looking at your environment, what is it about? It's to reduce how you produce the food. You have to reduce your carbon, but you need to be paid for that because there's a value on it. There's part of your income. We're spending hundreds of millions in carbon credits just to be able to produce your food. You should be claiming those. They're yours. If you reduce, you're entitled to be paid for doing the environmental work that's there. Instead of begging, you should be demanding what you're earning.
Same question. That was just done from food into the environment.
In the last meeting, regulations is also what you're required to do, your traceability, what you're expected to do for your environmental. They don't just ask you to do this. Those regulations will come with inspections, and you will be required to meet the criteria of what is laid out for you to get your money. There is more red tape coming. That's what I'd be doing over in Brussels. What you need to do is you need to get your standards back of who you are and what you're doing and your importance to Europe. You have to put food security on the map. You should be looking for a commissioner specifically, like the fishing industry, for a commissioner for producing food, if you get that.
You as an MEP, how would you do that? So the farmers here are looking for, they're going to give you your vote, you take their vote. You tell them what you will do in your...
Yeah, so what we already do, and look, I'm using my own expertise in food production and my time in Brussels, and there's different programs involved for the fishing industry, such as expert groups like advisory councils. I think you're going to have to go down that route. There are schemes like fish improvement plans that set out a 5-year program, but once you're in that program, you're not expected to reach the goal in the first year. You have time to get there. You have to use what is happening in Brussels in other areas. And you ask me, how would I do this? Well, we've heard it. There's a movement in Europe for food production right across. You see the farmers out protesting. They're fed up with all this regulation. You create alliances. You as an MEP would go to like-minded people to protect your jobs and your industry and your heritage.
I'm solution focused. So we have...
Quickly, in the fishing industry, we look after the young people that get grants to buy new boats once they're qualified. I would think that something like that, with the IFA, would look in, you'd identify the land and what production is important. We see the minister giving huge grants for tillage when we were in trouble. So I think you should be positive and look into the areas and work with the organisations that know the expertise of what's there. But I think if you want to have a future farm, you have to bring young people into it. You have to incentivise to bring them into it, just like we have in the fishing industry. These are the programs that are already there for other parts of the industry, and I think the farming organisations should look into that and see what's working in other areas of the economy.
And Niamh, I'm going to start with you on this.
Do you agree with the EU's aim to cut pesticides usage by 50%? Over a protracted period of time to give people a lead into. Brendan, should you get elected, would you say for 5 years? That's right, yes. Patrick, are you exports, yes or no?
Yes.
Forestry, let farmers plant trees anywhere, yes or no?
It's the farmer's choice. I couldn't make that for a farmer. It's not my choice. It's not my land.
Solar farms on productive farmland, yes or no?
Again, not my land. I wouldn't be telling farmers what to
Do
do.
you agree with the EU's aim to cut pesticide usage by 50%? Yes
I don't agree with that, no.
And Brendan, should you get elected, would you say for 5 years?
Absolutely.
Cynthia,
Yes.
5 exports.
In 2016,
Of the MEPs, what stage is the Mercure agreement at? Because I met with DG Trade a few months ago, and they said it was passed in 2019, and it's only the fringes of employment rights and different things. So what stage is it at? Has it been passed?
No.
No.
It hasn't been ratified yet, Patrick, so that's why.
That's not the question. I'm talking about the deal. Is the deal set in
It's
stone?
not set in stone, and that's why they asked they put out in Argentina and Brazil, because they were getting what they wanted.
Which was more equal.
When it goes off the table, it comes back to a new commission and a new parliament, and they have to go through the whole rigmarole again. All national parliaments have to ratify it. All national parliaments have to ratify it.
Agreed. I think that Eddie's after highlighting it. I know the same from the fishing industry. It's as simple as that. So you know the answers to your own questions. You have to look for the solutions. All I can give you is my own expertise and the knowledge that I have from the other sector and what Europe will actually accept. Just like you said about the extension for the 2 years. You have to come up with a credible plan and alternative that they will accept to give you that longevity, to allow you to bring in the measures that we're all talking about here tonight. That's the simple reality of it. So you have to get the people, right, genuinely up here, whoever they are, that has that expertise that can represent you in Europe and doing that. But you have that opportunity. It's up to you to pick your candidate who you best will represent you outside there, whether they're here, whether they were there before or not. This is your decision. It's up to you to find out about the candidates. Thank you.